Welcome to the Academy, a series focused on the basics of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Soloing Master Mode Red Reaper on a stealth character is one of the fastest ways to earn level 75 gear, or earn credits in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Red Reaper is a Flashpoint meant to be played by 4 players in a group, but even in its most difficult version, Master Mode, a skilled player can run through the entire thing alone very quickly and get themselves approximately 20 pieces of gear. Or a fully geared character can earn about 4.5 million credits per hour running the Flashpoint and disassembling the gear. In this video, we'll be going over how to solo this Flashpoint on a level 75 stealth character for fun and for profit. First off, you'll want to pick your class and combat spec. The 2 stealth options you have to choose from are the Jedi Consular Shadow Republic side and the Sith Inquisitor Assassin Imperial side, or the Smuggler Scoundrel Republic side and the Imperial Agent Operative Imperial side. You'll most likely want to choose one of the DPS options instead of tanking or healing, as it should be the quickest and most viable option. While I've been assured you can do this on a tank or a healer, I was not able to complete the final fight on my Shadow tank, while I was able to do it on my Concealment Operative Damage character. While each of the fights has different mechanics you'll need to learn, you'll also need to prepare your character to take on this difficult challenge before you enter. Here's a checklist of things I went through before starting the Flashpoint. Number 1, have a level 50 influence companion. You can boost their influence with gifts or a compendium item from the Stronghold section of the fleet for 3 dark projects plus 4.25 million credits, which will auto boost them to 50. Number 2, gear up as much as you can and make sure you understand the new level 75 gearing system. I went in with 300 level gear, but if you're skilled, you can go in with as low as the default 268 you get from doing the Onslaught expansion. The first 2 bosses are also way easier than the last, so you can get piles of gear just by doing them alone. Number 3, get everything on your quick bars. You'll want all your class abilities on there, as well as Heroic Moment, Unity if you have it, a high level med pack, and a critical adrenal. You'll want to keybind as much as you feel comfortable with, especially movement abilities like force speed or your role as a smuggler and operative, and absolutely keybind your interrupt. For your class abilities, I like to sort them so my main attack abilities are at the top, defensive abilities are grouped together, and my movement and utility abilities are grouped together so I kinda know where each of them are before I start the fight. Lastly, number 4, know your class. You can go to Swtorista.com/2020 for a list of all the class guides I know of. You want to be familiar with what your defensive abilities are, what they do, what your rotation or priority system is, what your buffs do, and how your main rotation or priority abilities interact with each other. To start the Flashpoint, go to the Missions Departures elevator on the fleet. It's on the left side Imperial side, right side Republic side, then look for the Red Reaper terminal. To get to the first boss, start off in stealth and run all the way to the elevator. On the way, you'll be pulled into combat, so just use your combat stealth ability once you reach the elevator in the back. If you happen to have Archaeology 250 or higher, before the elevator room on the left, there's a room that has a crate with an artifact in it that will reduce incoming damage. There's another similar item after the second boss, the robot, on the left side of the 2 droids guarding the elevator. For the rest of the Flashpoint, you'll be able to simply stealth between bosses with no troubles. Just make sure to not use force speed or your rolling ability while in stealth, but you can use rocket boost just fine. You also don't have to avoid the enemies while in stealth, just don't travel directly on top of them or linger around them. During the boss fights, make sure to make use of a stim before you start, hopefully a critical one, your class buffs when you die, your heroic moment, your unity healing ability if you have it, your med packs, your adrenals, your defensive abilities, and your movement abilities. The first boss is Lord Karis, the red-skinned Sith with prisoners kneeling on the ground. This is the easiest of the 3 fights, and there's only one mechanic you need to watch for. When he jumps to the center of the room near the kneeling prisoners, you will need to interrupt him as he casts. Skilled players set their companion to damage for this fight to breeze through it. The second boss is the SV3 Eradicator droid on the command bridge surrounded by 6 red and blue pillars. When the boss does his laser beam attack, it will be bolstered by the amount of pillars that are the same color. If all the pillars are the same color, a single blast will almost kill you. You can change the pillar color by clicking on the base of the pillars. The droid will reset the pillars throughout the fight. There's a small audio cue when it happens. When he blasts, you can choose to 1. Set the pillars to half one color and half the other to mitigate the damage, or 2. Just click one pillar and use a defensive cooldown. Even better. If you're on a concealment operative or scrapper scoundrel, you can actually roll during the last second of the laser beam cast to avoid the damage completely. If you're on a shadow or assassin, you can put points into the immersion utility, which will allow you to not be slowed during the fight when you use force speed to make it easier to click the pillars. If you're good with the pillars or rolling out of the laser beams, you may be able to set your companion to damage instead of healing for this fight. The rest of the fight, make sure to put your back facing the ship wall column, as the droid does frequent knockbacks. All the stealth classes have a nice ability that lets them teleport back to the boss from far away, so make good use of this when moving around or if you get knocked back. Right after you finish fighting this droid and defeat it, a bunch of ads will spawn. You don't need to fight them. Instead, loot the boss, run over to the computer that's near the window of the ship, and then stealth out using your cloak or combat stealth. You'll then be able to run over to the elevator, and you'll be able to go into it without having to fight anything. The final boss, Darth Ikaro, in the big red room, is difficult due to his mechanics and his enrage timer. At about 5 minutes into the fight, he will enrage, and will very likely kill your companion and then you shortly after that happens. So it's important to squeeze in as much damage as possible before that happens by maximizing your character's damage output and doing the mechanics as perfectly as possible to not waste precious seconds. The fight will start with him in the center of the room. You have 2 options to start the fight. You could fight him near where he starts, just pulling him backwards some close to the ramp so he doesn't knock your companion off in the abyss, or start the fight from the back of the room and drag him around the pillar back there. Many players recommend bringing him to the back, because if you're lucky, it will help you avoid one of the annoying mechanics of the fight called zealots, as they will spawn near the front of the room and may not see you at all if you're in the back. Personally, I had more luck in the standard front of the room. During the first part of the fight, you'll just be attacking him to try and make him reach 80% health. This is a very good time to use Heroic Moment at the immediate start of the fight, as if you're slow at DPS, it might be available again at the very end during his enrage. At 80% health, the next phase will start. Darth Ikaro will make 2 scantily clad Sith ladies appear, one on either side of the room. Darth Ikaro will start shooting lightning from his hands at either you or your companion. Your goal is to instead get one of these ladies caught in the lightning. In the normal per-person Flashpoint, you would have your entire group run to the side of the room and hide behind the lady, so the lightning hits her instead. However, when playing solo, you'll need to control your companion by setting them to passive, which will force them to follow you. To position your companion, run all the way through the lady, so you're a bit of a ways past her. This will usually get your companion behind the lady instead of accidentally just standing in front of her. Once you get in position behind Ikaro's Chosen, you need to wait for 2 things to happen. 1. Darth Ikaro needs to be shooting lightning, and 2. The lady needs to be casting. When both are true, and you're 100% sure and your companion are all the way behind her, interrupt the lady. Wait a moment to make sure it worked, and if it did, Ikaro's Chosen will start shaking around. If it didn't work, and she goes back to casting, you'll need to wait for your interrupt to come back up and try again. Once you complete the first lady, you'll run over to the other side of the room with your passive companion and do the exact same thing for the second lady. Here's the part where it gets obnoxious. Darth Ikaro may or may not spawn another enemy called the Zealot. The Zealot usually spawns near the front of the room. She'll cast an ability that roots you to the floor, not allow you to move, which will prevent you from properly attacking her, getting to the Ikaro's Chosen, or getting to the boss, which is really annoying. You'll want to take care of the Zealot as soon as possible above going to hide behind Ikaro's Chosen with the lightning. The first thing you can do is click her, then click your companion's attack ability, which takes them off passive and instructs them to damage the target. You can also then try and teleport and attack her with your class ability. Lastly, if you're 10 meters or less away from her, you can interrupt her, which will allow you to run up and attack her. If you don't move through this whole phase quickly, Darth Ikaro will just keep spawning more and more zealots, so you'll want to defeat the zealot quickly and then go behind your 2 ladies as fast as possible. Once you manage that, you'll rush back to the boss and try and damage him down to 60% as fast as you can. At 60%, he'll start the next phase, and glowing red orbs will appear around the room. The more of these you collect, the less damage you take, up to a max of 4. I was able to collect about 3 with just enough time to teleport back. If you're dying lots, maybe get a 4th. If you're not dying, collect less. I think if you get back in time, you might also be able to interrupt the cast he's doing, but I haven't had a chance to try this out. He'll then start attacking both you and your companion, flipping back and forth quickly. This is the part of the fight that I kept dying at. He kept attacking and killing my companion. Although you can't prevent him from attacking your companion, you can do your best to keep your own health up and use your defensive abilities so that your companion can use its healing powers to keep itself alive. If you can manage to survive this phase, at 40%, he'll go to the thing with the lightning ladies again, and at 20%, he'll do a final round with the red orbs. If you're a less skilled player, at this point he might hit his 5-minute enrage and practically one-shot you or your companion. If this is happening, it means you need to find a way to up your damage. In my case, I needed to do the mechanics with the ladies better to waste less time, and really focus on my DPS abilities and how they play off of each other and complement each other. If you've gone all the way through and just can't do it, don't forget there are other things you can check out that are similar too. Veteran mode Red Reaper is very similar, and though it drops less valuable gear, it still drops some and is good practice. I also had a lot better luck soloing Master Mode Hammer Station on my tank, whereas I wasn't able to do Red Reaper on that character. I hope this helps explain how do you solo a 4-person Master Mode Flashpoint, and is it possible at all? The answer is yes, and does require practice, and does require practicing your character and their class. Best of luck on your own stealth Red Reaper run, and may the Force be with you. If you want to show your support for this series, or to have similar Star Wars The Old Republic videos show up on your YouTube homepage, subscribe to this channel.